If ever a sporting event inspired a poet's words, they were Rudyard Kipling's. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there's nothing in you, except the will which says to them, hold on. For 16 men, the boat race means hold on for the longest 17 minutes of their lives. In keeping with tradition, the opposing crews first met back in February, down by the Tideway in Putney. Oxford, the champions, arrived to accept the challenge from Cambridge. They may have won 15 of the last 16 races, but it still rankles that Cambridge lead them overall, 69 victories to 67.
On behalf of Cambridge University Boat Club, I challenge Oxford University Boat Club to race for the Beefier Gin Trophy on Saturday, 4th April. Do you accept my challenge?
On behalf of Oxford University Boat Club, we accept your challenge.
Oxford's dominance in recent years is there for all to see. Cambridge are anxious to erase the bitter memories of last year.
This is a tremendous effort by the Oxford crew, and they're almost at the line, and they're crossing it now, with Cambridge something like 4 lengths still away.
The Oxford and Cambridge boat race means a great deal because it's a wonderful tradition. I guess it's just an honor for me to participate in it more than anything else, and as president to do anything I can to perpetuate the tradition.
These two crews will arrive on race day, arguably the fittest men in any sport anywhere in the world. To get to that extraordinary peak involves 7 months of training, 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. The land-based rowing machine, the ergometer, both adds to the strength and gives the trainers a chance to assess how the individuals will work together.
This is a morning session in which we're developing power, maximum power for 10 strokes. So you'll see they're doing 45 minutes continuous ergo work. And every 4 minutes we build up the power so they get the feel of how hard they can pull the handle, i.e. the blade through the water. And because they've got a computer in front of them, they can see how hard they pull.
Training techniques are now unrecognizable since the battle was first joined back in 1829. The response to every session is monitored and then improved. Cohesion and team spirit improve as the fitness is honed to perfection. Hour upon hour of test of both human and physical stamina. As race day closes in, the intensity of focus becomes almost consuming. The Oxford stroke Ian Gardner has been an international class swimmer, but this year is experiencing a new phenomenon.
No one seems to understand that we'd still race the race even if nobody was watching. We just want to beat Cambridge. There's hatred being talked of in the last few years, but I don't think it's so much hatred, it's just like sort of over-enthusiastic passion.
The calm of the idyllic setting is in stark contrast to the ferocity of the contest. Each crew member still has his or her studies in the background, but how easy can it be to concentrate on your subject when lying just around the corner is the biggest test you'll possibly experience in your whole life? Whatever these young men or women go on to achieve, either in their rowing lives or in their working careers, it's likely to come as an anticlimax.
When we got picked for the Blue Boat, Joe Michaels, the president, gave each member a sheet saying Most athletes train to stand a chance of winning. True champions train to eliminate the possibility of losing. And he just said, put that on your mirror and look at it every day. And that's what we're going to do.
Oxford are the favourites, but they're leaving nothing to chance.
There's no semi-final, no final, there's no second chance. So it requires a lot of mental strength to really button yourself down, really make sure you are perfectly prepared for that one moment in time. And the 6 months of training that goes before obviously build up towards that.
The only freedom these guys have is the flight of fancy, the dream of victory, and then perhaps of a sane social life. Cambridge's hallowed cloisters breed a depth of pride in history. But this place will surely puff out its chest if a recent tradition is reversed. Whilst the very concept of defeat this year is banished, it's not just the memory of last year's demise that's hard to take. Just as galling is the reason behind it.
Last year, we flew out of the blocks, which is a typically immature thing to do in the boat race, and then proceeded to get rowed down. And at no stage when Oxford was walking back through us was there any cohesive fight back. And if there's one thing that's going to win us a boat race, it's the ability to attack and counter-attack down the course.
Oxford putting on every pressure they can. I'm going to hold them round their bend. We're taking Harris's Bridge, their bend.
Andy Probert, Cambridge's Cox, is at 38, the oldest person ever to compete in the race. Age hasn't dampened his commitment.
Sit back! Sit back! Shooting Harris's Bridge, no! Bridge going overhead. We can work your way to the bridge. You're coming out wide now, the end time pusher.
The boat race is a unique event and there's nothing like it in the world, and it really is a psychological battle. What we've looked for in our selection this year is the guys that have that killer instinct every time that they're lined up against somebody side by side.
Two weeks before the race itself, the crews come to London for fine-tuning, but now though every move, every stroke is under the microscope. The slightest flaw becomes a disaster. Your strength makes you look invincible. But who knows how the key personalities will respond on the day. Ian Gardner will stroke Oxford for the first time.
Ian Gardner, 13 stone 1, and the Cox, Elizabeth Chick.
Elizabeth Chick hoping to steer Oxford home to their 6th successive victory.
Seven stone 11 and a half.
On the day, I think it's just beating Cambridge, and we're down the state boats. There'll be a helicopter overhead, hundreds of people on the bank, but it's just going to be us and them.
The last fine-tuning for Oxford, and they're not fooled by the press coverage, which begins to make them stronger and stronger favourites. The Cambridge Cox has no doubts.
There will be very little going through my mind except wanting to win, just trying to get on with the job in hand. The hardest bit is trying to concentrate on that, and I hope that I'll end up ignoring everything that's going on, and the one thing I want to do is just be getting my crew to go fast.
In front of him, Dirk Bangert. His relationship with Probert has been built over 7 months. Their knowledge of each other is now intuitive. And then a chance encounter on the Thames. But interestingly, neither crew bothers to give the others a sideways glance. But all the training could come to nothing if the performance isn't right on the day. Race day at last. The weather fresh, bright and breezy. It may have its roots in a bygone age, but the boat race still draws the crowds. The crews may be cosmopolitan, the spectators certainly aren't. As the appointed hour draws near, a chance for old rivalries to be discussed and enjoyed.
One boat, first time by 16 lengths, the second time by a length and a quarter.
16 lengths is the biggest victory since the war.
Oh yes, the second biggest ever.
I want 10 foot between.
A busy day for the umpire, first briefing the two coxes.
If I warn you and say both crews move apart, what I want is each of you to move 3 foot, okay? And say, you know, if Andy, you move 3 foot and you don't, I shall then warn you, Liz, or vice versa.
And then the toss, not just traditional but crucial, the only element of luck in the race, where your commentator will be David Goldstrom.
We have the 1829 Gold Sovereign, and it will be Joe from Oxford who will toss it from last year's winning camp, and Max from Cambridge will call. So Joe, I can hand it to you. And here we go. Ready? Yep. Heads. And it's tails. Sorry, Joe, it's your call.
Oxford chooses Middlesex.
Middlesex at the top of the picture, 4 1/4 miles, the task ahead for both crews. 6,778 metres, a true test of endurance. The two crews are bringing their boats out now. Oxford with their German Empacker, 90 kilos of high-tech construction, equal to the weight of just one of their oarsmen. Cambridge also with a yellow boat. There's the deeper colour of their American-made Dirigo. So do the crews. In the bow, Max Justice, the Cambridge president, bringing life and vitality to the boat. His talented opposite number, Kingsley Poole, the joker of the Oxford crew. At 2, Oxford's American president, one of 4 old blues in the boat, a genuine leader. Against him, Nick Clary, sharp, racy, a junior world medalist. Oxford's Boris Mavra at 3 is the first Yugoslav to row in the race. For him, the tougher the better. His opponent, Yorkshireman James Behrens, a key strongman in his crew. Hamish Hume, a winning blue last year for Oxford, now recovered from a pre-Christmas back injury. Dan Justice, the younger brother of the Cambridge president. In the engine room for Cambridge, American Donald Fawcett, who gave up the deli sandwiches of Wall Street to train for this goal. Opposing him, Peter Bridge, a potential Olympian. The 6th man for Cambridge, David Gillard, providing the vital link between the bow and stern. Looking to complete the hat-trick over Cambridge is Cal McLennan, the rock for Oxford. Next, 2 old Etonians, Simon Davey for Oxford and the much-improved Stephen Fowler, 2 men who must pick up the rhythm of their respective strokes. Stroking the light blues, the imposing Dirk Bangert, the first German ever to row in the race, a junior world medalist with 100 victories to his credit, not a man to be defeated. Against him, though, the Scot Ian Gardner, in the reserve boat until 3 weeks ago, now entrusted with setting the Oxford rhythm. In charge of their respective race plans, the 2 coxswains. At 38, British international Andy Probert is the oldest person ever to compete in the race. Trying to outwit him, 20-year-old undergraduate Liz Chick, bright and just as determined. The umpire, Roger Stephen, himself a Cambridge Blue in 1981 and 1982, coming round to his position just behind the 2 crews. Ian Gardner, cool and controlled, but the nerves will be tingling now. Andy Probert, his boat not straight. Liz Chick, neither is she happy yet with Oxford, but when both hands of the coxswains are down, the command will be given. Attention, set, go.
That's it, hand going down, now.
Both down. Away we go for the 138th University Boat Race, to the cheers of both armies of fans lining the banks. Oxford closest to you on Middlesex, here at Cambridge on Surrey.
Long now.
Andy Probert calling the race plan out to his men. Dirk Bangert at stroke facing him, setting the rhythm. The early stroke rate 44 to Cambridge, 43 a stroke less per minute to Oxford, and Oxford really on terms. Cambridge looking a little bit heavy, Oxford by contrast a little more lively.
Coming right back. 37.5. Right. Lengthen.
Very soon, both crews are going to turn right-handed round the first bend as they work their way towards Hammersmith Bridge, just short of the half distance. And it's on this stretch where they're going to meet the more turbulent water, the north-northwest wind coming towards the tide, and Cambridge really can't afford to let Oxford go away. They will have the advantage of the big Surrey bend after Middlesex is completed, and Dirk knows that he must keep his crew on terms and, if possible, lead into Hammersmith Bridge.
2, 3, 7 more. There.
Andy Probert putting in a push, but Oxford are right beside them. There's just a few centimetres, maybe half a metre between the two crews. The angle a little deceptive. Through the engine room of Oxford. Half a metre it is, half a mile almost completed now as we come past on the right-hand side the famous Fulham football ground. About 1,000 metres completed, but still very early days, and this race now beginning to turn into the slogging match which many predicted. These two very evenly matched crews now going round that Middlesex bend. There's the football ground on the Middlesex station, and as you can see, Oxford with a very narrow lead. Here's the man from Würzburg University. Sitting behind him, Steve Fowler, 22. Then the hair of David Gillard, Donald Fawcett. Behind Fawcett and Justice, James Behrens, and then Max Justice in the bow, just behind Nick Clary. The Oxford crew, Ian Gardner, a former swimmer with big lungs, but a superb rhythm, and he's finding that rhythm now. Picking it up and supporting him, Simon Davey. Then Cal McLennan into the engine room, Peter Bridge, and then after Peter Bridge, Hamish Hume, Boris Mavra. And Oxford, if anything, have just opened up a little bit more now, maybe a metre and a half between them and Cambridge on the far side. And this is really important for Cambridge here now, that they get back on terms.
They're pushing. Hold him now. Hold him now. There, back against leg. There. Leave it off. Hang off the blade. Hang off the blade.
A mile point, 1,609 metres completed, and little by little, centimetre by centimetre, Andy and Dirk are getting their men back on terms with Oxford.
Just lengthen out again. That's 34.
Leeds are getting a little bit close now.
Bring it.
And Roger Stevens, the umpire, poised to give the warning if necessary. He's looking for 10 feet between the two sets of blades. And if necessary, he'll ask both crews to separate, to pull away by 3 feet to keep that gap. The Middlesex bend finished, and now the Surrey bend in full advantage of Cambridge as they come past Harrods Depository Store on the left of the picture, coming up towards Hammersmith Bridge, and there's the umpire, flag poised. Both crews absolutely determined. 7 months of preparation, no time to give any quarter to their opponents. Coming up towards Hammersmith Bridge, not much between the two crews at all, although Cambridge, who were down, coming past the Middlesex rough water, and now back in command. The time already past the record set in 1976, but conditions today certainly not in favour of any record times. Today it's all about being there first. Coming to the centre span, which they must shoot according to the rules of the boat race, and there's absolutely nothing between the two crews. Still more than half of this annual classic duel to go, and Liz Chick just moved a little wide there as she comes into the flatter water, and as you can see, it's Cambridge who have the advantage of the inside of the bend, Oxford who have to row round them. 7 minutes and 5 seconds, so more than 30 seconds off that record time.
Hold them there now! Hold them!
This is where Cambridge really must take advantage of the situation. Oxford, though, doing really well Nice rhythm, good technique, and the umpire a warning to Oxford again, and that's a chance for Cambridge to move away, because every time Liz Chick has to adjust the rudder, it works like a little brake on the boat. Coming up to Chiswick Reach now, just about a half distance. And the pain will soon be upon these men who've trained so hard since the autumn.
Shot the breath. Shot the breath. That's good. Keep feeling the spring in the leg. Kings, Joe. Shot every stroke. Shot every stroke.
Joe Michaels there at 2, just keeping a wise eye on the Oxford progress. And so far he's going to be happy with his crew, because they're really containing Cambridge. Cambridge not as smooth or effective their rowing. And again they're very close, the two crews. Almost bow to bow, stroke for stroke, as they come down towards Chiswick Ayot, the little island. The blades are really close, and another warning goes out from the umpire. They're going to have to separate again, but Oxford have done really well in this flattish water, and Cambridge are not really showing the best of their technique. Before today's race, it was reckoned to be Cambridge technique against Oxford's power punch.
Now with Ian, with Simon, sharpness now, shot there.
A little push there by Liz Chick, asking for her Oxford men to take command. Gulping in the oxygen. Driving her men. Cambridge looking quite the cohesive package that they were up at Hammersmith Bridge. And Oxford now, who've pulled out 2 meters maybe over the Cambridge crew. Ian Gardner, those big lungs from competitive swimming.
Who wants it? Who wants it? Let me see it in those puddles. See it? Now they're level round their bend. Coming round.
Finish, 35. Steering slightly now as they move. Move on, hard on now. Finish is held.
Andy Probert knows that his men have got to move now, because Oxford are also pushing away. Bangor can see the Oxford crew slipping ahead of them.
I've got Fowler! I've got Fowler! Another one! And another one! Taking them apart with every stroke. Taking them apart. Got Gillard! And another one! Now give me 40.
Oxford doing just that, taking them apart, and those Cambridge men can hear every command of Liz Chick. They're very close now. 3 miles gone. The advantage of the Surrey Bend also gone for Cambridge, as the river turns back in favour of the Oxford men. Swinging round down towards Barnes Railway Bridge. Still over 3-4 minutes of this race to go. But look at the rhythm of Oxford. Absolutely stunning. Cambridge, what have they got left? Can they find something? Can Dirk get his men to respond? Look at the pain and the effort.
Drive! Drive!
Barnes Railway Bridge, 3 minutes to go.
Drive! I've got Clary!
And Liz Chick now level with the 2-man of Cambridge, almost a length between the two crews now, and Oxford beginning to pull away, and there is a length now. Clear water. Oxford have a length over Cambridge now into the final stretch.
Got to harden on. We've got to lengthen out to give ourselves a base. Stay with Ian, 1.5 minutes.
The legs are burning, the arms are aching, but they're just concentrating as they push for the final time, and desperate Cambridge attempts now to haul themselves on terms.
Sprint now!
Come on, you lads! This one's for Johnny Head.
A wonderful display by Oxford as they stride towards the line. Not many metres now between them and their 16th victory in the last 17 years. A fabulous battle, blade to blade for so much of the course, but at the end of the day, it's Oxford who rode round Cambridge on the Surrey Bend. There they took their advantage, and they come home to take the 138th University Boat Race. And look at Cambridge within a length and a half towards the finish, and that is the closest race for 12 years. Sweet victory for Ian Gardner, who hadn't sat in a rowing boat until he came to Oxford a couple of years ago. And look at the joy. Kingsley Poole in the bow, going mad there. Cal McLennan, a third winning blue for him. And Liz Chick, who really has won the Battle of the Coxswains. Look at the despair, the dismay, the pain of those who've lost the boat race. Cambridge, all credit to them, a wonderful performance by them. They fought so hard. A splendid victory, though, and one with a very special meaning for every member of this Oxford crew.
I think in the back of all of our minds at the OUBC was John Hebbs. He might have passed away while training, and we all pushed for him, and that was the push that put us ahead. So Doughboy must be at peace now, because we did it.
And now a proud moment. Joe Michaels, the president of Oxford, goes up to receive the Beefeater Gin Trophy from the American ambassador to London, Raymond Seitz. A triumphant end to 7 hard months, and one tradition over, another begins.
You grab one arm, I'll get another. Around this way, guys. 2, Turner, 3.
And Kipling's words went on, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distance run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it. And, which is more, you'll be a man, my son. And these were the men and women of the 1992 University Boat Race.